Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's Matthew, Watty's channel, and today we are working on the second to last video of the My Favorite Random Treasures exclusive tournament, and we are down to 6 finalists. So this video will technically be considered my semifinals, with 3 winners moving on to the final match, and that's actually going to be in another video. I won't put that all in one. And I don't necessarily think that these are necessarily your 6 best figures from Random Treasures, but you know, I still believe that any one of the remaining 6 could easily win the tournament, depending on who faces who. You might covet some figures over another for any specific reason. I could say I like Zeus better than Jerry Lawler, but Jerry Lawler could be better than Sid Vicious. Yet, I might choose Sid Vicious to beat Zeus. So it kind of goes around. So in that case, Sid Vicious could defeat Zeus, move on to the finals, where he squares off against Jerry Lawler. And now Jerry Lawler is your winner. So it's going to be kind of funny and interesting to see how this all plays out. I've always said that just because I choose someone in this particular tournament to defeat someone else and move on to the next round, because of the way my mind goes, it's not always, you know, this figure is necessarily better than that figure. It's also about who I think has a better chance of defeating the remaining participants and to go further in the tournament. So I could have a video today, again, example, I could have Dusty Rhodes scoring off against Barry Windham, and let's say Dusty Rhodes wins. And then later on, you know, a couple days later or a few weeks later, what have you, I might come down with my top 10 or my top 15 Random Treasure figures, and Dusty Rhodes could be like number 11 and Barry Windham could be like number 3. So it's like, well, how did a number 11 figure beat a number 3? So just because a certain character wins in this tournament doesn't necessarily mean that I like them overall. And I kind of hit on that a little bit in the last video as well. I think talking about like Legion of Doom or Demolition, where I think Demolition, I said, was a little bit better figure than his counterpart, and just kind of back up to that. So Smash lost to Abdullah the Butcher in round 3. So I generally think Smash is a better figure than Abdullah, but right now I just think Abdullah has a much better chance of winning the tournament. So. Before I draw the names for the last 3 matchups, or the 3 matchups for this semifinals, one of my friends, Jimmy, so James asked me a question, what was it, last night, I believe, and I kind of laughed at the question. So Jimmy, this answer is for you. And, you know, he's been watching my channel forever, and the question was, I didn't write it down. I don't have my phone on me. I'm going to try to remember to the best of my ability. Something like, I know that you used to talk about, what was it, David Garland's Etsy page a lot, and then he wanted to know, what do I think about New 80s Revolution and his advertisement of 4 Left 3D Creations. And, you know, again, I kind of laughed at the question. In a nutshell, you guys notice that I don't talk about David Garland anymore on my page. Mostly because I kind of feel like if I really love something, you don't have to pay me to advertise or talk about it. That's why I love giving shout outs to people, you know, different businesses and different individual sellers or customizers, etc. And if I'm recommending something, it's because I enjoy it or I think that other people could get a lot of use out of it. That's why I brought up alexgoodchild's website, you know, retrofigure.com. You know, as a buyer, I kind of felt like that was something that, you know, I would have loved to have done when I first started, because that could have saved me thousands over the last couple of years. And it's something that's going to help me now because I still buy and resell and whatnot. So as far as David Garland, same thing with XOX Customs. I look at it like I'm not basically the poster boy or, you know, I'm not Michael Jordan, you know, giving an advertisement for Hanes. You're obviously going to make it sound a lot better than what it is because you're essentially getting paid for it. Now, I will never knock Jason. I absolutely love his channel. You guys already know this. It is my #1 favorite YouTube channel. And, you know, he has been my inspiration for all of this. The collecting, the YouTube channel. So, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's advertising for his client, essentially. So, I don't hate on that. But at the same time, I spent 2 years talking about the David Garland Etsy page for Left 3D Creations, and talking about his LJN 8-inch stands, his 4-inch bendy stands, his thumb rester stands, his AWA Rumco stands, and, you know, even the different accessories for, like, you know, Hasbro, etc. You know, I bought a ton from him. Around the first time I started selling on eBay, you know, I reached out to David. I asked his permission. Hey, I got these LGN figures I'm trying to sell. I would like them to stand up in the photo. Can I use your stands in the photograph? You know, he gave me permission to go ahead and do so. And in the bottom of the description, or in the description, you know, where you talk about the issues with the figure, deficiencies, or anything like that. At the bottom, I said something like, if you like the stands and the pictures, they're made by David Garland on Etsy for Left 3D Creations, etc. So I always kind of put his information in that description so people could reach out. And I know he's made sales because people have even directly reached out to me and asked, or they may message me through eBay and ask me, hey, you know, where did you get those stands or whatnot? And I would tell them. So if they didn't see the description, I never had any problems with that. But I kind of put For Left 3D Creations and Ram Treasures in the same boat, where he's getting paid to advertise them, make them sound like they're the greatest thing that's ever been constructed. I kind of feel like I want to be the opposite, and I want to be able to talk about the deficiencies of the product as well as the benefits. The Bam Bam Bigelow LJN 8-inch stand looks good. I was glad to have it, but it's crap for that particular figure. Why? Because Bam Bam is always leaning forward. Yeah, you get those little foot stands, you put them in the front to kind of balance it up, it doesn't work. You put it behind the feet, it doesn't work. You use 2 of those little foot holders, it doesn't work. So when you look at my stand, I always kind of have them kind of leaning into like Vince McMahon right now as I'm looking at him, because he always tilts forward. So some stands are absolutely fantastic. Like, I love the Jake Roberts stand. $1 Million Man stand is awesome. The Hacksaw Jim Duggan stand is awesome. Demolition stand doesn't really work that well. The 2 stands for Strike Force is okay. Heart Foundation is okay. I guess to an extent the Series 5 Hulk Hogan stands work pretty well, etc. The 2-person stand for Macho Man Elizabeth is kind of out there. It works for Macho Man, not so much for Elizabeth. You know, she only has like 1 foot that she could put in there, not 2. And I always have to lean her against Macho Man. So, yeah, I didn't really want this to be a long explanation. But essentially, the bulk of it is this. I got so incredibly frustrated by every time I tuned in to watch an 80s Revolution episode to see that stupid advertisement run every single time. If I'm going to advertise for someone, you know, I'll bring it up every now and then, just so not to frustrate people. And that's what it did. It frustrated me. I still watched the episode. I still enjoyed the episode. But I kind of, like, I'm not running to watch that episode every time I see a new notification like I used to, you know, in the last few years or whatnot. And that's part of it. Part of it is also that I've grown to enjoy other content makers as well, or as much. So, and because of that advertisement, not only have I stopped talking about David Garland, I refuse to even buy any more stands from him. And I probably spent $1,000, probably well over that over the last couple of years. 2,000, I don't know. I don't exactly keep track of those numbers, but you think of the amount of stands alone, and to include some of the accessories, yeah, I'd say about $1,000 plus would be about right. Now, I do have a couple open slots for the AWA Remco loose display stand over here, so I may at some point pick up 2 more just for that, but you know what? I've got all the bendies. I've got all the thumb wrestlers. They're all in the stands. I got a majority of the AWA Remcos loose, and I think I'm only missing like 3 or 4 loose figures, but the others are carded, obviously. So if I want anything, I will go on Amazon and buy those nice sturdy black metal stands. Get a pack of 12 of them for $40 with free shipping, compared to, you know, one stand from David that costs about $16 to $25 just for one. So that's another reason. Price was astronomically high. So not every stand works to the specifications, and they're overpriced. I really love them. There's several I want to buy, but that just kind of turned me off to purchasing any more from For Left Recreations. So hopefully that long, drawn-out explanation answers that question. But yeah. So, wow. I'm sorry, guys. I really didn't intend to kind of spend 20 minutes answering a question. I thought it was going to be done in like 35 seconds. Alright, guys. Let's kick into what the episode is actually about and the semifinals of Random Treasures. So, we will dive in and draw out the final 3 matches for this battle, or for this tournament. And why did I know that this was going to happen? Every time without fail. Sid Vicious versus Barry Windham. 2 men I think have the best chance of winning this tournament, and they're squaring off against each other. Alright, so Sid versus Barry. And you know what? Before I do that, let me go ahead and give you a little pop-up of what's to come. Like, seriously, look at these figures. How do you make a decision, right? Next battle is going to feature Dusty Rhodes, and he is going to do battle against Jerry Lawler. Oof. I kind of have a feeling I know who's going to win that one, but if it had gone another way, one of them would have probably won this tournament. And Abdullah the Butcher is going to square off against Zeus. And that sucks. Just kind of looking at them right now, side by side, I kind of feel like those two could have been potential finalists. But we will start off with Sid Vicious and Barry Windham. Anybody who has seen the My Favorite LJN tournament, the second one I made, where I had the inclusion of the 2-ups, this exact match occurred in that tournament as well. And you know what? Nothing is going to change. I'm still going to end up selecting the same winner this time around that I did then. So, I can't exactly redo this matchup or redo the drawing. I have to choose someone. But when you put one of the guys down, it doesn't make it any easier. Obviously, I gravitate more towards the Galoob figures than the LJNs because of that hard, thickened rubber or hard plastic. I still have no idea what the material is made out of. I've always called it like hard plastic because I kind of looked at it as, you know, very similar to Hasbro. And Hasbro's made from plastic, so makes sense. But I don't know. I kind of feel like the Dino Bravo, when you touch the skin, how thick and hard that rubber is, it kind of feels like Galoob, so it might be hardened rubber. Sid Vicious. You guys already know, my number one greatest fan favorite figure ever, and he was always a go-to figure for me. And it wasn't just Sid Vicious versus the Steiner Brothers, or Sid Vicious versus Ric Flair, or what have you. It wasn't even just simply Sid Vicious versus Hasbro characters like Undertaker, Bulldog, whatnot. Always a key person in my Royal Rumbles as a kid. Definitely a go-to figure. One of the most gone-to figures ever. Because his height, I think Sid was probably a good 6'10 or so. I don't know if he was 7 feet. I think he was about 6'10. And so because Galoob was always a little bit bigger figure, you guys already know the Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, or the Marvel Incredible Hulk, Bendy's figures. Those were always predominant action figures that we used because we only had 7 Galoobs, 17 Hasbros. The Thundercat, I always just called him Thundercat, but I think his name is Panthro. I always get it confused. Is it Panthro or Cathro? But I'm going to say Panthro. That one was probably as much of a go-to playable action figure than any other figure. And it just seems that Sid Vicious and Panthro would always lock up in the Royal Rumble. Or I'd always have these one-on-one matches. And because they were good size, taller figures, they would always be like the dominant force. And you kind of look at them as like the Monster Squad type of deal with Panthro and Harry Henderson and the Incredible Hulk. Always as like these major 3 tag team guys. Kind of like the Freebirds type of deal. And because Sid Vicious was bigger, and I always kind of felt like he was more of a fierce figure for play, I kind of put him in that same capacity. Like he could dominate just as much as like these monster creatures. So Sid Vicious was always probably the cream of the crop figure for me. And nothing excited me more from Ram Treasures than when they got this guy as LJN. Absolutely remarkable. The problem is, if I want to sit down as right now and just revert to childhood and have fun and recreate some of these matches, I don't know if I would use the LJN. I'd probably still stick with the 4-inch figures. I don't know, because I still want to like use Cathro, Panther, whatever, and some of these other figures as well. But the LJNs, man, they're just so much freaking fun. Love the figure. And Sid Vicious, from the very get-go of this tournament, I thought Sid Vicious would probably be my winner. Does it play out that way? I will repeat time and time again, there are many figures in this tournament, many figures he squared off against, many figures that have been eliminated in this tournament that had the possibility of defeating him. So it's never a shoo-in for Sid Vicious. I love the figure, great pose, but there are some figures with a little bit better pose. Is Barry Windham one of those guys who has a little bit better pose than Sid Vicious? I don't know. I always gravitate towards Sid Vicious. I gravitate towards Big John Studd, LJN, because they had that same pose. And there's a reason I say Big John Studd probably number 1, whereas I say like Greg Valentine number 5, right? And up until I collected LJNs and got Greg Valentine, I don't think I ever saw this pose before. Like I said, I never had Barry Windham as a kid, so. But really appreciating that different toy lines are continuously molding figures in this likeness with this particular pose. And it's incredible. I've talked about Original San Francisco with the Nasty Boys. Jerry Saggs has that pose. And the Harlem Heat have this pose as well. I think one has left hand up, the other has the right hand up, but same pose still, nonetheless. And I think that'll be a fun video to make, kind of looking at different videos or different figures from different toy lines that come with similar poses or the same pose, what have you. Barry Windham could potentially do more than Sid Vicious, and obviously, when you kind of look at these figures, you know how I gravitate towards body slam, right? And Barry Windham has a perfect body slam. You kind of look at the other way, yeah, Sid Vicious is still good. Good to great. Probably hovering on the border of great. But it doesn't, he doesn't really scoop as well as Barry Windham. So, and I love figures that have that body slam pose, both with the ability to be body slammed and to body slam themselves. Barry Windham is an absolute supreme figure and a potential candidate, someone who I thought would be in the last 2 or 3, depending on how many figures were left over for the finals. I thought he could win this entire tournament. I mentioned I was not going to change things up the way that I had this match set up before. And Sid Vicious defeated Barry Windham in my favorite LJN tournament. And Sid Vicious is going to defeat Barry Windham once more in my favorite Random Treasures tournament. So the first and only Galoob 2-up is going to the finals. Again, I'm going to split this video up, so you're not going to see semifinals and finals in one. But per usual, we'll still have the videos back-to-back days. So the next matchup we said was Jerry Lawler versus Dusty Rhodes. I kind of have a feeling right off from the get-go that I know who I'm going to choose. And I think this is probably going to be well, none of these are really easy, but I think it's going to be the easier of the three choices I make. Jerry Lawler, I don't know. There's really not much more I can say that hasn't already been said in 3 complete rounds with both these figures. They're both legends in the world of wrestling. Obviously, Dusty Rhodes has a lot more name recognition because he wasn't just WWF. He's not just a WWE legend and Hall of Famer. WCW legend, AWA legend, New Japan Pro Wrestling legend. And did he participate in any other territories? I kind of mentioned, Texas territories, but who knows? He could have bounced around from from Tennessee to Florida, or I don't know, what's the other one? Oregon or something like that. Maybe Washington. I mean, was there? Yeah, there was something in Washington. New York State. I'm trying to think, because obviously when you think New York, you kind of think WWF, but there had to be something up there, I'm imagining. Obviously, I'm not so knowledgeable when it comes to individual territories. Obviously, the thing that I grew up watching was WWF, or if you flip it through the channels, go on TNT and watch WCW or something. And I don't remember what WWF used to air on. I want to say, was it the USA Network? I remember in the early 2000s, and I want to say 2005 or something. And so I was probably finishing my first full year. So my end of my second year, but my first full year in the Army. So I deployed in December of 2005, and at that point I'd been in the Army roughly 18 months. And I think that was probably the end of, even if not that year, maybe the following year, the end of Stargate SG-1. And I kind of laughed, made this big joke, because you're ending a show that was highly successful for 10 years. Okay, 10 seasons, 10 years on the air. The greatest sci-fi series of all time, and you're getting rid of a sci-fi show on a sci-fi channel to make room for professional wrestling. That's how I always looked at it, because for whatever reason, WWF was always airing on the sci-fi channel. Weird, man. But yeah, as kids, I think it was the USA Network that we used to watch it on, and in Chicago, that was channel 39, I think. And it's kind of funny because with the new DVR boxes and everything, you got 7 or 8 different channels for HBO and 7 or 8 different showtimes and whatnot. I love the old days. When you flip it through the channel, it's 14 was Encore. Maybe 15 was TMC or whatnot. 16, I think, was Cinemax. 17, HBO. 18 was Showtime. And now you got to go to channel 550 to watch HBO or something stupid like that. I'm like, I just want one single channel. I just want to go back to the simplicity of it all. Yep, here I go again. I'm just yammering because I don't know. I want both figures to end up in the finals. That's why I don't want to make a choice. And because I really have nothing further to say about either one, I mean, where do I go from here? We'll stick with Dusty. So, based on overall color and whatnot, I do kind of appreciate what the Dusty Rhodes figure is. I do like his pose better than that of Jerry Lawler. That gives him a 2-0 lead so far. His body is much more appropriate, but, I mean, this is fantastic as well. Nothing wrong with it. They're both cartoony looking figures. Even though this is definitely Jerry Lawler, haircut and all day, you could not get this confused. But, some people who never followed wrestling and didn't know who Jerry Lawler was, this could just look like a generic character to them. And I do think, to some extent, that the Dusty Rhodes figure, even to to someone who's not the most knowledgeable in wrestling, I think they would still know who Dusty Rhodes is and still know that face. Now, obviously, if you never watched wrestling growing up and didn't care about it or whatnot, I think everybody, regardless of who you are, knows who Hulk Hogan is. You could have been like 50 years old in 1980, and as a grandparent, never really, not really sitting down watching cartoons or anything, you would still know who the Simpsons are. Even if you never watched a single episode in your life. Either it's Bart Simpson with the Butterfinger cartoon, Butterfinger commercials or something, you're going to know who they are, right? I kind of feel the same way about Dusty Rhodes. For the name recognition, for the added colors, for the body pose, for the girth and size of the figure, Dusty has to be my choice. And even though Jerry Lawler, just like many others that have been eliminated, I said could win the tournament, there were still a number of figures I feel like would have come out on top. So, with the right matchup, absolutely. But brother Jerry Lawler is down for the tournament, making it all the way to the semifinals. Dusty Rhodes is a finalist. And to be honest, with this one, I'm not actually surprised at all. When Dusty Rhodes came out on the Etsy webpage, I kind of felt like this could potentially be the greatest figure that XOX Customs ever came out with. Now, does he win the tournament? That's the problem. You're facing, already you got to deal with Sid Vicious. Not to mention one of Abdullah or Zeus who could win the whole entire thing. But right now, I am at least glad to see these two moving forward. And going into the very last matchup, you got this big, buff, strong guy going against I don't want to say that. That's rude. That's mean. I really can't knock on Abdullah's weight. Shoot, I'm not exactly the skinniest person in the world either, so dang. Now, but seriously though, I've always said I enjoy the big guy figures, and to me, they're just made so much better. The last matchup, who did Abdullah square off against? So in round 3, Abdullah the Butcher defeated Smash. And I said it at that video, I think I said at the beginning of this video, I still think Smash, if I were to come back and do a top 10, top 15, I would probably rate Smash higher than Abdullah the Butcher. Just because I rate them higher doesn't necessarily mean I think they would be better suited to move on to the next round. And Abdullah the Butcher is a really fun one. And because, the handout, kind of like SD Jones, he has a phenomenal, I love the choke slam pose. And just, the way that he kind of gets it in there. Little small chops. I love that. I didn't like it when I loved the figure at first. Then I got the figure in, and I'm like, I wasn't too crazy about the shorthand and whatnot. And then doing this tournament, just kind of talking about him and talking about the way that, he kind of get those little small chops in and whatnot. It makes sense. And it works. It's still a great pose figure. The overall design of the figure, to include the way that the pants have the creases, all in the right areas, is immaculate. I mean, they got the flaps and the rolls and everything just kind of situated beautifully. And maybe it's just the dark-skinned characters. I mean, you get a few light-skinned characters as well with this extra glossiness. But yeah, like I said, Virgil, Zeus, Abdullah the Butcher, with that extra gloss, it really makes the figures pop, and I love it. And I think the elf shoes might actually be a little bit better on Abdullah than you would see on the Iron Sheik, but the Iron Sheik has amazing elf shoes, and incredible. And when you look at the bottom of the pants, obviously when you're heavier, and this is the kind of funny thing about big guys. So like, I'll look at me for example. If I put on weight, I only put on weight in my stomach. That means I could be like this 125 pound guy, or I could be a 225 pound guy. Who cares? My arms will not change at all. My legs and thighs will not change at all. So if you think that this guy's 100 pounds heavier than what he had been, his legs would be like super huge. So let's say you go from like a pant size 30 to like a pant size 40. I don't know. When you look at the bottom of the pants, at the where your feet slide at the bottom, the pants are like so wide open, and it's like when I've had weight gain, I put pants on. I've got bigger sizes, obviously, and I always have like this big opening at the bottom. And the pants are like super huge. It's like, dude, give me something that are kind of like skinny jeans, but not really skinny jeans because I hate that. But because my legs are not that big. So yeah, like I just need waist size to expand. I don't need anything else to expand, right? So, and of course, I kind of fluctuate back and forth anyways. 1 6-month period, I'll be like 200 pounds. Another 6-month period, I'll be like 160. So it's kind of crazy. But when you look at the bottom, the way that those pants pop up, I like that as well. Very solid figure. And the more and more I talk about Abdullah Butcher, the more and more I kind of feel like he not only topples Zeus in this battle, but the more I kind of feel like he wins the entire tournament. And with Sid Vicious in the finals, it's like, how does my favorite all-time figure not win this tournament? But I think this could potentially be one of the greatest figures ever made. And I don't give Random Treasures a lot of credit because so many of their figures are terrible. But when they do come out with an absolutely sensational figure, you want to rag and give them, you want to brag about their figures because you want to give credit where credit is due. Zeus, to me, again with that Arn Anderson pose, it's always been something I really wasn't crazy about. Did that ever really bother me? Not until I really got the Arn Anderson 2-up did it really, affect my decision in any way. From the second I saw this figure on Etsy page, I had to have it. And from that time period up until now, I always felt that Zeus was one of the most perfect figures Random Treasures has ever come out with. Dare I say, it might be one of the 20 greatest action figures of LJN ever made. Whether it's original line, Random Treasures, or, the guys that make custom figures who don't have necessarily have a business of their own. You already know how much I love the glossiness of the figures, so that is absolutely impeccable. You might think as far as, color and display on the bottom from the waist down, that it's so simple, but it's really not. I mean, the lines are nice and straight. Good color. It does look like, I don't know if his paint is chipping or something right there on the feet, and that sucks. I want this figure to stay in pristine condition. I probably would have liked if maybe his shoelaces were like a silver color or something, kind of blend with the other color scheme, as opposed to just being painted black, That could have helped make it pop a little bit more. But with the Z on the pants and on the head, this is an absolutely immaculate figure. That crazy look, oh yeah. When he does kind of like has this one eye kind of closed type of deal. And he looks at you like he about to kill you. You did. Nah, man. They really did Tiny Lister well on this one. He looks like he's about to go out and kill someone every time I stare him in his face. But man, one of the most fun actors. And, he's a believable bad guy. Not wrestling, but in movies in general. Big bad guy, tough guy type of deal. He's got like the perfect build for it. I don't necessarily think that one would per se have a better pose than the other. I mean, they both serve their own purpose. With the kind of the display of the pants and everything, with the way that it crouches up and the way that you like see the outline of the underwear and stuff on there, that's pretty amazing. As a red figure, yeah, he's going to stand out a lot more in the background. He's really going to pop. This is not an easy decision. I mean, guys, with like 2 men remaining in the entire tournament, final match, this is a difficult choice that you have to make. And nostalgia, I know of Tiny Lister. I know of his movies. Not all of them, but, a few. Abdullah the Butcher, up until I started collecting Remcos, I really didn't have a whole lot of knowledge about him. I think I was in Iraq in, December or January of 2021 when I bought the Wrestling Writer version, the King Kong Bundy repaint to look like Abdullah. And even with Eric, I took several days, maybe even a week or close to it, before I picked up that figure. Why? Because every time I looked at it, all I saw was King Kong Bundy. But then after a while, I'm like, you know what, let me get him. And, Eric used to put in his descriptions on eBay some of the history of the character. And that's kind of like the first time I was ever introduced to the Abdullah Butcher and Bruiser Brody feud. So, and then going back and watching those matches on old YouTube videos where they're kind of like in this little gymnasium and the ring is right there in the middle and the chairs are basically 10 feet away. You can practically reach out and tap someone on the shoulder. And yeah, they'd huff and puff and go out outside the ring and go near the fans and doing battle and stuff. And oh man, it was just a lot of fun. I don't know. Somebody pick for me because I don't know. Alright guys, I made my decision. I'm going to go with Zeus. Reason being, from the very time I picked up this figure or it was delivered to my house and I laid eyes on it, I felt like this was the premier figure from Ram Treasures and that it would be almost impossible for any other figure to be superior to this one. There are a lot of great ones, and any of those great ones have the potential to defeat Zeus, no doubt. But I don't think that there's any issues with seeing Zeus in the final match. With Zeus possibly being the best figure for the last year or so, and then last year and a half, and then you look at like Dusty Rhodes, which came out a few months ago. Maybe, the best figure or near the best figure for the last few months. I think those two can really knock each other out. And if that happens, that means that the carryover is going to push on to Sid Vicious, who might have the best chance of winning. It's like, think about, again, I stick with baseball because I love baseball. So think of Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. If all of these people are voting or splitting their votes for MVP between the two, what if the Cubs' Cody Bellinger comes in at number 3 and ends up getting all those additional votes because nobody else is splitting votes the way that they are between the Angel Stars, right? Yeah, you're looking at AL versus NL. I got it. But the point is, you're splitting votes, and I think these guys are basically split votes against each other. Or, I'm sorry, not Abdullah. Dusty Rhodes and Zeus would split votes. Does that play out? I have no idea. It's going to be hard to say that any one of these three don't win the My Favorite Ram Treasures tournament, but 3 of the most dominant figures that I feel like Ram Treasures put out are in the bottom 3. And that's what's important, is to get the 3 best figures into the finals. And, guys, that is going to close out the semifinals. Today is Saturday. So this video will be posted on Sunday. Either today or tomorrow, most likely tomorrow, I'll come back down and film the final match. And that will be posted on Monday. So on Tuesday, I'm not going to skip any days. I'm going to try to keep this daily upload going for as long as I can. At least until I get tired out and can't do it anymore. And going to need a few days break in between. But after that, I'm going to do the Mannix review video for the 6 bootleg figures we got in, or I got in about a week ago, 4 days ago, something like that. And that's going to allow me to give another shout out to Alex. And, guys, again, Aliu10, ALYOOD10. Yeah, he's overseas, UK. Most of my packages come from Japan, though. He kind of deviates between both locations. And free worldwide shipping, one of my favorite sellers, amazing products. And look, I mean, here's the deal. When I recommend somebody a seller that I love, it's the same thing with like Adam Mercer with Bohemian Dream. I used to win figures on his site for like $5, and I had done that for like weeks. And I started recommending his site to, you know, anyone that was interested, and suddenly those $5 figures are turning into $35 figures. I realized that I'm hurting myself by informing others of these amazing sellers. But at the end of the day, these videos are made for the viewers. The videos are made to inspire other people to collect or to get the best deals possible and whatnot. So when I recommend someone, and hell, it's not even just, you know, sellers on eBay or anything like that. I recommend YouTube videos all the time as well. For whatever reason, it's like against the rules or something for YouTubers to like shout out other YouTubers and whatnot. I don't know, like taboo or something. I do see other content makers doing it as well, but I do it all the time as well. I've always said Bone Breaking Action, one of my favorite channels on YouTube, and I'm sorry, Sniper Wolf, but come on, how does she have 30 million viewers or 40 million subscribers, and you know, and you got someone like Bone Breaking Action who makes some of the most intricate, detailed videos I've ever seen, and you know, he's like me. We're small channels. It's nice because we get to, you know, basically talk one-on-one with a lot of our commenters, a lot of our subscribers and whatnot. You know, if I ever get to a point where I've got 100,000 subscribers and I'm getting 10,000 comments every video, realistically, I will never be able to sit there and respond to every single commenter. And that's exactly what I love to do. I love to be able to reach out to you guys. Do I get to every single comment? Probably not, but I mean, I think majority of the videos I do. And, you know, that's really important for me. So, I don't know. If you guys are ever interested in any of the guys I watch and recommend, you know, definitely reach out. But, like I said, if you like wrestling matches, you know, Bone Breaking Action is phenomenal. Blatant Interference is incredible as well. If you like hearing history and, you know, talk about history of wrestlers or wrestling matches, WrestleMania, stuff like that, you know, JP's World of Wrestling is awesome. Obviously, New 80s Revolution, I think everybody pretty much knows about him by now, especially the last few years where he's significantly grown. Kirk's Corner, he makes a lot of shorts, but, you know, still his videos are fun to watch. You know, a lot of pickup videos, a lot of new additions, and I like the way that he really displays his figures on the wall, so that looks pretty sharp, especially with the light backing and whatnot. So, yeah, guys, I'm going to stop talking. I'm sorry. I kind of feel like every time I intend to end a video, I just kind of go off on these tangents. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comments. Once again, always appreciate hearing from you, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.